Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the conversation today on Ready, Set, Respond. I'm your host, Carla Alicea, Director of Research and Performance here at Apartment Ratings and Satisfax. And I'm always grateful when you join us for these conversations that are meant to have a little bit of something for everyone here in multifamily. Don't forget after the conversation to head on over to our Satisfax Education Instagram page or Satisfax on Facebook to add your favorite takeaway from today's conversation for a chance to win a $50 gift card. Now, let's get to it. Today's conversation is about synchronizing strategies. We're going to talk about what seems to be a very popular topic in multifamily these days, and that's artificial intelligence. And we're going to talk a little bit about it from the renter perspective, from an operations perspective, with an operations expert. Our guest today is Lisa Russell. Now, Lisa has been a chief operating officer, an area vice president, and a vice president of asset management. But now she is working on one of the most exciting projects, in my opinion, here in multifamily on a hot new AI startup. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So I'm excited to introduce you to our guest soon. But first, I would like to do some Ready, Set, Respond polls. So if you haven't already logged in, please go ahead and scan that QR code and let's get ready to take some polls. Now, when it comes to AI, there seems to be a mixed bag about how people are feeling. And so this first poll is all about how do you feel about AI in the multifamily industry, right? I want to know, I want to hear from you. Are you more excited than concerned, equal excited and concerned, or more concerned than excited? Now, this is about how you're feeling about AI in multifamily industry. And when we think about asking poll questions or asking survey questions, we really have to frame that context, right? Because AI could be a part of our daily lives in many different ways. It can affect us at work. It can also affect us as consumers. And so we have to think about those different vantage points. So this particular question is really asking about how do you feel about it in the industry in which you work at? So right now we're seeing those results. Not quite as clearly as I'd like to see. The grid went away for some reason, but it looks like 20% and 80%. I'll have to go back in and look at what yellow and blue means. I think that's a little glitch in my application. Let's move on to the next poll. Hopefully we won't have a glitch here. So this one, again, thinking about work, the context of work. What role, if any, do you think AI will play in your work over the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years? Now, there's a lot of options down there, so take your time. Say, I don't know enough about AI to make a selection. It's not going to have any impact at all on my work. It'll occasionally help me with certain tasks. Maybe it's going to help me save time on a daily basis. Or maybe it's going to replace some of my existing function. Or maybe you feel like in 2 to 3 years, it'll replace most of your existing function. So where are we at and how we think AI is going to evolve in our workplace over the next 2 or 3 years? Okay, much clearer results here. We've got a 28% saying they're not really sure about it. To make a selection. We've got 14% saying it's going to help me save time on a daily basis. We've got 57% saying it will replace some of my existing function. Well, it is very interesting. It is a fast evolving technology. I think the adoption curve is much higher than any other technology we've seen in the past. So it will be very interesting to watch this space. Okay, now I want you to put on a different hat. I want you to put on your consumer hat. Let's imagine that you just bought a product or you had a service and you're having an issue and you need customer service, right? So you're reaching out to that product. Maybe the directions weren't very clear. Maybe it was missing a part. You need some customer service. I want to know, this is an agreement scale. So tell me if you strongly agree or strongly disagree or anywhere in between, that I prefer to get customer service from a human rather than from a chatbot or automation. Okay, coming in pretty strongly agreeing. Now we've got a few people, 25% disagreeing. They really like that automation and that chatbot. We've got a couple, 20% neutral, 20% are agreeing. They like that human interaction. 33% agreeing, 33% strongly agreeing. So we're about 66%, little varied there. Well, guys, I really do think that this is a great time to bring out our guest. Lisa, are you with us? Oh, Lisa, I think you might be on mute.
I sure am, and I played along with the poll. How exciting.
Oh, isn't it great? I got to look back on that first poll to figure out what those color codes were. But we're going to see how consumers feel about that question here pretty soon. But first, I want to get the audience to know you a little better. You and I have chit-chatted a bit over the last couple months about your work in AI. And I think it is just so fascinating. So can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to train an AI model to read multifamily reports and data and generate complex reports for, say, asset managers with just a few prompts? I mean, that sounds like amazing technology. So tell us, what do you enjoy most about and find most fascinating about this project you're working on?
Well, I think, first of all, since I've been in the industry 30 something years, it's been such a fascinating journey to go through and see things that through my entire progress of my career that I've seen areas that we've struggled with. And I've seen AI be able to really take those and immediately solve the problem. So something that I've had a 30-year problem with, AI was able to fix for me in one sitting with a developer. So what I really find the most fascinating and what I'm really looking forward to is how much I can learn really with an AI co-pilot and add to the experience that I already have to be able to solve problems faster and come up with some processes and procedures that actually means that I can move on to bigger topics and make really well-informed data decisions.
Absolutely. I love that idea of an AI co-pilot. Can you explain that a little bit more for our audience?
Sure. So what we end up really making sure is first that the AI, which we actually call Lori, but we work with our AI to make sure she has all the data from your property management systems, and that and maybe contracts or anything else that she may need as well, so that she's being able to really analyze the most data possible. But working with her, I can ask her in-depth questions in regards to that data. So the way I look at it is I get to actually see into the data. And as a co-pilot, she's learning even from the questions that I ask, what's important to me. And so in the future, I won't even have to ask those questions repeatedly. She'll soon learn what questions I like to ask, and she'll readily have those answers or solutions available. So in the contact, it's not just pulling a report, it's having the report speak to you and have an entire conversation about the data.
That's interesting. I mean, it just sounds like kind of like magic, right? I can only imagine what it would have been like to do, say, a Monday AM with an AI co-pilot, right?
Absolutely. And, developing the spreadsheets and monitoring KPIs and going through and doing daily audits, sh- she'll really be able to clean up the data and really help you not get stuck in the weeds in some of the more tedious task items. And
Mhm.
so I really love that. And then making sure that I have really, I call it layers of information available to me just by asking a simple question.
Absolutely. So it sounds to me like you're using an AI copilot to help you really analyze and hone in on your operational data, which brings me to my next question. There seems to be this debate about where AI initiatives are most applicable here in multifamily, right? Uh, it's either marketing versus operations, it's the front office versus the back office. Where do you see AI as being the most valuable in multifamily operations right now, and why?
Well, I think without really realizing it, we've had AI working in our front of the house, really with the leasing screening and some of the other applications for the last couple of years. So
Mhm.
some of the AI that we don't even realize is already being utilized, and in what that will do is enhance marketing features, really making sure that we are doing the fraud detection better, helping us build content for our websites and blogs and
Mhm.
Facebook posts. I know Canva's releasing an AI version. And so those are the things that as we go, some of the new technology is Chat GPT, that teams are learning actually how to write a better letter to a resident, or how do we enhance customer service, or actually even create entire marketing plans. So if you've got AI as a co-pilot on the front end with the leasing teams, and they're learning that they can be more creative in their work, that's what you're going to see happen, is the creativity that will come from the human intelligence, and the tedious tasks will be handled um, by the AI.
The AI copilot.
The AI co-pilot.
I love that. So, when we think about artificial intelligence, what I'm hearing is a lot of our teams are already embracing AI. They're using those tools to, even we saw it in our polls. They're using those tools to be more efficient, to be more creative, to be more unique in the content that they're sharing, or to expand on content. I mean, from time to time, it's even challenging just to get a really good description of amenities. That challenge has now been almost eliminated with the generative piece of AI. Um, but now, what I'm starting to see, and I want to get your opinion on this, but I'm going to share some data that I've collected from across the web, is that there seems to be a growing concern amongst US adults. This poll from the Pew Research Center, this was done in August of last year. So it's a little old, and I know AI is changing rapidly. So it might be a little different if we were to rerun the poll now. But this poll shows, they did it in 2021, they did it in 2022, that people are actually growing more concerned about AI, right? It doesn't tell us why. This is a trend. We like to call that our quantitative data, but we don't really know why they're more concerned just based off of this poll. So, what we did here is Satisfax. We're like, I wonder if renters are feeling the same way. So, we conducted some focus group with renters. We asked them that same question: are you more excited or concerned about using AI technology when leasing an apartment? And here are some of the quotes. One concern from renter number 2 saying, even though it's a rental or a lease, I still want that human factor involved. From number 5, I would be worried about signing a lease with a property management company where everything was AI or self service. And we kind of saw that same sentiment across all of the focus group participants. Then we ran across this study also at the end of last year from SurveyMonkey about customer service and even how we saw our own preference, right? 66% of us like human interactions. This poll was as high as 90% wanted that customer service from a human. And last stat, Lisa, I promise I'm getting to a question, but even in our own research here at Satisfax, we asked renters, we said, how important are the following items? And when we compare automated chatbot features on a community website to say the ability to easily communicate with an apartment community staff, there was a big difference in that importance level. The chatbot was, not that important, 2.68, where the ability to communicate with a team member was a 4.56. Okay, all of this leading up to my question for you, which is, what advice would you give operators and site teams who are expanding and experimenting early with automation and AI that's customer facing?
Well, I think the first thing that I would really encourage is everybody really to just get comfortable with AI, get comfortable with that change is an aspect of our business. I used to work on typewriters and use whiteout for the leases. I mean, that's the progress that we've made in just my career. So get comfortable with change. Stay curious and learn as much as you can. I think where we sometimes tend to be afraid of change is when we don't understand it. So asking good questions, maybe taking a class, and evolving, especially with teams as they're learning new technology. But as for the chat box, I would take time. It's going to take time for them to evolve, but they are going to be a humanistic voice that will be very comparable to you and I having this conversation. So it's going to be then for us as the human intelligence side to really make sure that we're comfortable with technology in general, and that just remember, like a mobile phone, there's been over 150 different versions of mobile phones, and it took over 25 years for them to evolve into what we have today. And so even though AI is rapidly evolving in different aspects, it's going to be involved in multifacets of our lives to the point that I don't think we'll think about it in the future. So I would say instead of fearing it, is really take it as a learning challenge and educate yourself and see what things interest you about AI. And I think that's how I really got into this, is I found out as an operator of multifamily properties that I could really solve some major issues with AI and it not affect that human customer service aspect.
Yeah. I think if I had to speculate, right? If I was going to start a quantity or a qualitative research project, I would want to ask renters about their experience with the chatbots. So if I put any kind of automated system in front of my renters, I think I would want to follow up and get their feedback from that experience so that I can then take that feedback to my partner or the provider of that service and continually iterate and improve on that experience. I think the other thing that I know, I've experienced this in customer service. In fact, I was just thinking about Southwest Airlines. I don't know if any of you noticed, but they removed the phone number from their app. They used to have a direct link in the app to call a customer service rep, and they've recently moved it or hidden it, but it's no longer really relevant. So they're really trying to push me to use their online tools. And what I've noticed is some of those tools cannot answer my complex questions. And so being able to develop data documentation around those more complex questions is only going to help your automation, your AI learn over time. Lisa, we have a question. And I know this is going to come out. We didn't talk about this prior, but you did mention fraud detection. What do you know about AI and fraud detection? And what advice could you give some of our listeners who are interested in that?
So actually, fraud is one of my, I call it passion projects, because I have been working on fraud for over 5 years for our industry and working with vendors that are coming up with the technology to fight it so that it's not our frontline teams. And
Mhm.
part of that is the AI reading documents. Some of that is an AI co-pilot viewing all the synapses or all the scenarios in one sentence. And I'll give you an example. If you saw $150,000 salary, but they also marked they were a student at the same time, their credit scores read that they only had $500 in the bank. That AI can pick up those anomalies 10 times faster and go back and ask follow-up questions in regards to those items. And meanwhile, that can be done for us automatically behind the scenes. And that will be a much faster way to catch fraud. It's actually in their mistakes. It's the errors that they make. And our human teams are doing that now. AI is being trained to be able to do that on the back end. And I think that's going to be one I think is going to be a top priority going forward.
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely been an increase in fraud in our industry. So that fraud detection piece, I find it so fascinating, especially here at Satisfax and apartment ratings, as we're now starting to hear regulators like the FTC looking at AI solutions to detect fraud in online reviews. And I find that completely fascinating. They get all into the details about the algorithms and how that's going to work. But it is very interesting. There, the FTC is all about protecting consumers, making sure that consumers are getting realistic information, and so they can make good decisions. And it's really quite fascinating to see that they're branching out to using these tools, even within, that particular instance. Okay, let's go to my next question. I ran across an article it was the Harvard Business Review. I think it was the September 23 issue, called Reskilling in the Age of AI. And they recommended that leaders and employees think about reskilling as a new paradigm, that there are these 5 new paradigms, that reskilling is a strategic imperative, that it is the responsibility of every leader and manager, that it really is a change management initiative. And that this one I love, that employees want to reskill, but when it makes sense, right? So thinking about that, in your opinion right now, what should multifamily firms be doing to prepare for the shift in work that AI can potentially bring, and how it's going to impact us? What should operators be preparing for? What should on-site teams be doing and taking steps to prepare for this reskilling and AI invention?
Yeah, well, I think the excuse me, the first thing I heard that really I thought is an excellent idea is like a director of AI, not somebody that's actually developing it, but really guiding the company on where you're using it and how you're using it. Actually having someone in the corporate office, it could be a consultant on a part-time basis, or it could be a full-time position. It may eventually be an entire team, but I do believe that we're going to need, I call it AI guidance, and in the different aspects, because you're going to see it in leasing. We're going to see it in marketing. We're going to see it in the budgeting, financials, fraud detection. It's going to be in every aspect of the business. And so having like somebody within the organization that has that ability to make sure that the teams are trained, and that that the strategy and the vision for the company is aligned with some of the AI technologies that are going to be in our systems. It used to be enough just to know multifamily. It is now going to be a technical side of it, in the corporate office, at least, to make sure that we are our teams are set up for really seamless interaction with AI.
You had said for on-site teams that right now they're being paid for answers, and in the future, they're going to be paid for questions. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite sayings. Thanks for reminding me. I've spent, this is it, 38 years. I've been paid to have an answer. If you go to a property manager right now, she knows her stuff. She's got everything in detail, all the way down to the paint colors that are in the office, right? And she has been paid to have the answers. And what we want to see is that property manager is now going to evolve into having an AI co-pilot that will be like the knowledge vault for her, so that it has information before she even started the job, and it may have information after she leaves the job, but that she'll be actually paid for asking great questions, making sure she's utilizing that AI to the best of its ability, and challenging it and saying, what would my, if I actually evict the 5 evictions that I have right now on my desk, what's going to be the NOI impact? That AI can answer that in a split second. So asking the right questions, so for you to be able to see what's available and make better decisions.
Okay, so from an on-site team, we're talking about asking better questions. Is that what is referred to as prompt architecture, like how you interact with the AI?
It is to some degree. Excuse me.
Mhm.
It is to some degree. It is something that has the ability to um, uh, answer any question you want. But so many times we're so busy digging up the answers that we forget to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
So I really want us to see how much time we're really working on um, in our daily lives right now, of where we're researching and seeking answers and putting together reports. We'll have AIs writing your owner's reports in the future. They'll be assisting you with reading all of your contracts and making sure that you understand what you're signing in a contract. So I think that that's where we'll start to see this partnership. That's why we call it a co-pilot. And
Mhm.
we'll really be able to see that it's really our knowledge of asking and really obtaining the information that's available. That's the exciting future.
Yes. And I love how you say asking the right questions. Again, relating it to what we do here at Satisfax, we do resident surveys. And we know that not all surveys are created equal. We know that the type of question you ask, the words you use, who you're asking, when you're asking, what order you're asking those questions, they all matter and can impact your results. And so asking AI the right questions and learning the skill to ask the right questions is something that actually takes practice,
Mhm.
and that you can improve upon. So advice for those that are starting to interact with AI, get really good. Do your research on asking great questions. Then, of course, coming back to what you were saying, Lisa, about it taking the data from your property management system, taking the data from all of these other systems you're using. How important is it that operators focus on training their models with quality data?
Oh, that's a big one. Clean data is the number one focus right now. It's in our industry. It's really garbage in and garbage out. We know that. But it's able to go in and see that you have signatures missing, or it's able to go in and see that you have a discrepancy between what's in the writ roll and what's on the lease. You have charges that were missed. You have the ability to be able to um, uh, train it to do some of the minor collections, even sending out letters, etc. So I think that when we start to see what all is available and having that strong foundation, you really have to have the clean data. So what I really encourage any new company that's looking at taking on a lot of AI, or especially wanting to standardize, is really be realistic that there will be some time to do some audits and clean that data as best as you possibly can um, before you really jump into adding all these other complex systems on top of it.
Absolutely. So getting started, let's talk a little bit about that. As I was doing research for this program, I discovered that LinkedIn Learning, anyone who has a LinkedIn premium account, you have access to the LinkedIn Learning, and they have a ton of different courses and webinars and lectures and content in there to help you learn anything you want to learn. And they now have an AI powered coach that will literally take your your LinkedIn profile, your career goal, and then give you recommendations on what courses you should take to learn more about what you need to do to achieve your goals. I thought that was absolutely amazing use of AI. Lisa, what other resources are out there for teams to start, for people to start learning more about AI, or to expand on their skills in this aspect?
Yeah, I would definitely advise everybody to really play with Chat GPT. If you haven't had the ability, I would ask, even if your company would give or pay the $20 for, I think, one of the lower, they have some free, but I would say if you could do one of that, excuse me, I'm so sorry,
That's
more
okay.
advanced ones, then I would make sure that you have that ability to just see how it operates. And
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be for work related. You could ask it really anything. How to plan a vacation. What do you want to do for budgeting your own personal finance? And like you said, a life coach. When you start to see that the Chat GPT is going to have a wide range of topics that you'll be able to discuss and talk about. That's where it gets, I think, the play part of it is what I encourage people to do. Is you can't break it. You just play with it.
Yes. A couple of things that I've heard that you have to be really careful of when you are first starting with ChatGPT is, one, I heard it hallucinates, and sometimes it'll just make up stuff. And two, that it's not very good at math. Is that true?
So it does hallucinate. All AI, all of them hallucinate. Now, that is an interesting question of why it hallucinates. But you have to remember, as a human being, we hallucinate. So
Mm.
everybody makes AI wrong for hallucinating, but it actually, we do the exact same thing. Our memory fails, or we don't get the details right, or your perspective may be different than my perspective. So we've got to have some grace there as far as that goes. And we still have to use our gut instinct. If you and I are on a topic and we're talking about the same thing, but just not agreeing, or just not hitting the same notes on it, then we have that gut instinct that tells us, hey, I need to fact check this, or I may have to, I'm too emotional in this conversation. I need to step back and do it again another day. So you still want to use all of those instincts with the information that you're given. And
Yeah.
part of that is going to be a dance, is what I call it, a dance between um, uh, AI and human AI, and just having the ability to make sure that we are fact checking ourselves as well as the information that's being provided.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for sharing these nuggets of information about artificial intelligence. I cannot wait to see Lori in action. I would love to be able to, we were talking about overlaying occupancy data and other different data types with resident satisfaction data, right? And what kind of insights can we find from that? So I think it's going to be a world of discovery. We're going to learn so many new things because the potential for answers is becoming more limitless. And I'm really excited to see that in action. Guys, if you want to connect with Lisa, she is on LinkedIn. She's also going to be at NAA next week. So ping her there. Ask her any questions if you're interested in that asset management, reporting piece that she's working on. It does sound quite fantastic. And then, of course, please don't forget to go to our Facebook page, add that favorite takeaway. And also, coming up next, we are doing a special session. As Lisa mentioned, Lisa, you were kind of part of our motivation when we were talking
Good.
about the importance of data, right? When you're training your AI models, how that data definitely needs to be clean and accurate. So Leah Nicole Smith and I are going to talk all about dirty data and the problems it can cause, because not all data is created equal. And as the saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. So we hope you can join us tomorrow for that webinar. And Lisa, I hope to see you at NAA. Thank you so much for joining the conversation today.
I absolutely enjoyed it, and it's my favorite topic and so broad. And I know we were very general. So if you want a specific conversation with a lot more depth to it, please contact me. Love to have the chat. And I just encourage you, like I said, find out what your current company and current applications are using and how they're using AI on the backside, and then ask to be a beta tester. Really be a pioneer for it. And I think that's where you're going to see um, uh, true superstars come out of our industry in the next couple of years.
It's exciting stuff. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.